Talk with Mitch Lafon.
We are speaking with a band called AshenMoon. It features Garry Beers. They're over there on the right of the screen. And also in the back, Jimmy Khoury and Toby Rand. And as we like to say in Montreal, bonjour et bienvenue. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Bonjour, Mitch. How are you, brother?
Good. This is great. I wasn't expecting a video conference, but now that we have one, this is fantastic. I love it because I will, of course, throw it up on the show, on iHeart and all that. But then on YouTube, fans can actually get to see you. So let us talk quickly about AshenMoon. How did this project, and who do we start with? Toby, let's start with you. Where did this come together? How did this come together?
Well, it actually came together. Our friendship started the whole process. Garry and Jimmy have been mates for about 8, 9, 10 years, something like that.
More than that, probably 12 or 13.
12, 13 years.
Yeah.
They started playing together just randomly, and I met Garry at a party 3 years ago. I think it might have been.
3 years ago. Yep.
And Garry and I have a bit of a relationship with the Rockstar TV show. We're on different seasons, but we knew of each other, obviously, and then we just got to talking at the party, and then Garry started a supergroup, which was basically INXS music mashed in with some of his classic and some bands we turned into writing. That to us just really working out the sound, and I think we started writing 13 months ago. I think it was about that.
Yeah. We took our time with it. We did it in this little studio you're seeing behind us right now is where we recorded pretty much most of the record. So except for drum tracks and certain band tracks, we do it in a friend's studio up the road. But we just took our time, spent a lot of time writing.
It was literally a passion project. It was literally like it was getting all the music that each of us had that we'd never had found a vessel for, and we just created one. So
right.
Yeah.
And the first two singles, Dust Bowl and Mosquito, are on YouTube now. I am telling you, Dust Bowl is a hit single. Absolutely a hit single.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we're the record.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we're like Garry was just saying, we're there's a little bit of latency. Sorry, brother. Yeah. Garry, sorry, go ahead, mate.
Yeah, we've got 13 great songs, and we just it was hard for us to choose which would be the first two singles, but we just think those two songs are pretty indicative of where the album's sort of heads at. But it's got some very different types of songs on it. So we thought we'd start off with a couple of straight up rockers.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that we chose Dust Bowl and Mosquito is because of the lyrical content as well. It talks a little bit about what's happening in the world, how we need to kind of realize that the earth is telling us a few questions and we need to respond with positivity and try and inspire each other. We've just shot the video for Dust Bowl, which is being edited right now, and we basically captured Los Angeles with no one in it. And it's pretty indicative of today's, current climate. It's got nothing to do with COVID per se, but it's got everything to do with the fact that the earth is telling us to basically fucking get your shit together. Otherwise you're all going to be alone for a very long time. So these two singles have got that kind of intent of like bringing community together and also giving a bit of a lesson for us to kind of stand up and take some positive action.
Yeah, and I think we do. And listen, we're going to see a whole new world when we're done with this. Twitter and other companies have announced that they're going to be renouncing their head offices and stuff and let people work at home. And it's just like, wow, that is going to just sort of change the whole thing. It's going to change everything. But all right, let me ask you this, Garry. You, of course, were in INXS. It is a brand. I know people say it's a band, but ultimately it's a brand. Talk to me about rebuilding a new band and brand and not just sort of taking the easy way out and finding a couple of ringers and just keep the INXS thing going. What are the challenges for you, but also what excites you about creating something new?
I've always been, number one, first and foremost, I'm always there for the music. Music has always been the passion of my life, and I've been kind of looking for an outlet for my music for, I guess, 20 years since INXS stopped writing new material. So, we had an album out,
2006.
2006. So yeah. So, but as far as just wanting to get back on the horse with the as far as playing music, it took me to meet these guys to really get the passion back. And Toby and I, especially, just sitting in here and writing music. I've known Jimmy for a while. We've never actually written that much together. So when the three of us finally got in here, it just became a real passion project. And I haven't felt this way since the heyday of INXS. I mean, as far as the output that we're doing, I'm just really, really proud of it.
Now, you've both mentioned that it's a passion project, which I get the sense of, but does that make it then just a one-off? Or because a project is usually a one-off, or is this a band and you want to have a second album, a third album, you want to do the world tours? How do we see this moving forward? Is it just here are 13 songs, merci, bonsoir? Or is it like, oh, no, this is album 1. Next year you'll have album 2.
It's a good question. It's a good question because it's with that old cliche, you take it day by day, but we would come into the studio with no expectations of it being, anything apart from getting at a creative flow. And then all of a sudden playing it live, we get responses. Then we have a record label come in. Then we have PR teams come in. Then we have this whole thing happening, like you said, with branding. And I don't think we've got no choice then to make it, at least a 3 to 5 record band. That's my vision anyway.
Yeah.
And we've already signed a deal that puts us in 2 records deep for next year and a half. So we're looking to build this up. Spending time with these guys has opened up my eyes of creating not only a new product, but like living off a great legacy as well. Like you mentioned, should we take the easy way out and get a couple of ringers like from Garry's? But I don't think music should be like that. It should be surrounding yourself with people that make you feel inspired, and that's what we do to each other, and we want to build off that. And I see this going as far as it wants to go. And then still, Garry has opportunities if he wants to play with INXS and do some one-offs. They can do that. Jimmy's got a million things he can do, but this is our main focus right now.
And I have to say, I've heard Andrew's record, Andrew Ferris, and I've heard this, and I'm just glad that you're both people are making music, because you've got these like 20 songs that I think fans are just really going to appreciate. Let us quickly talk about the current situation with COVID and all that. Normally you drop an album, you go on tour, you sell some t-shirts, everybody's happy. That's not going to happen. So how do we get people to pay attention and want to buy this record and want to stream this record and then want to go to your socials and pick up a t-shirt? Like, how do you motivate a fan base to be interested when you can't follow the model?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that we're talking with management and the label about. But as soon as we hang up from you, we're jumping onto a live stream on Instagram and Facebook. So we'll be playing basically a shout out to everyone who's so far supported us, and then the music videos that we're shooting, we've got our own basic movie production company here that we can go through here. So we're just going to keep on tuning out, hopefully, inspirational content that people will go, wow, there's some mystery there, but I kind of like their message. The message that we want is that we're community driven. So hopefully once we're able to be out in the community, everyone will be driven to come and see us play.
Well,
so.
I'm certainly hopes. I hope so. In terms of once this is all over and we get back to sort of the normal, the old normal, the new normal, whatever we want to call it, how do you sort of see the touring possibilities? Because it seems to me that if you're at the Staples Center or the Bell Center or the whatever in Australia, those big places are going to exist, but it seems as though all the smaller venues or many of the smaller venues aren't going to make it through this. How do you sort of see yourself getting out afterwards? Are we going to have places to play?
We'll have to see. I mean, hopefully the smaller places will survive. I mean, I'm sure everyone will be trying to get on tours with each other. I think bands, a lot of bands probably have to join together to get through it together and help venues get through it too, because you're right. I mean, all the small places are going to close up, and we had a whole bunch of gigs that we got cancelled. So
we just got cancelled a festival today. I forgot to tell you, we just got cancelled. Yeah, we had an east
right on.
We had an East Coast tour set up for for late July, and that's just slowly starting to kind of, you know, well, particularly the festival, there was like 20,000 people, and that's just not going to happen, I'm afraid. So
here's what you didn't know. I'm canceling this interview right now. You didn't know that, but I'm canceling the interview right now.
I was running. We were running late, and we were running late, and I got the info, like literally got the email as soon as I walked in the door here. I'm like, oh, that's not good news. But you know what? Everyone's in the same boat. We're all suffering. That's why Gary said we should just all come together, you know, and hopefully each other through it.
Yeah, we'll let that latency catch up with us. But yeah, did
you get that, mate?
I did. I got some of it. Well, and we'll get through all of this time, and you know. Anyway, let me just quickly ask you: Rockstar Supernova for you, Rockstar INXS for Gary. What was that show like for you? Was that just a TV show and there's no music validity to it, or was it a real band with a real thing? And was it scripted? You know, did we know that J.D. Fortune was going to win? Did we know that Lucas Rossi was going to win, or was it actually a competition?
It was a competition. I mean, I'll speak for because we came to Mark Burnett with the idea. It was our idea because we thought, why don't you use somebody else's bucks to find a singer? And we, you know, seemed like a good idea, and you know, get a TV show. The TV experience for us was pretty awful, really, because we're not TV stars. And the whole thing of getting up at 4 a.m. to rehearse the songs that they're eventually going to play is not natural for any musicians, that's for sure. But no, the whole. I know the Rockstar INXS was all based on votes from the fans at home. So J.D. Fortune won, you know, like, so that's the way it was. But overall, it was a pretty interesting experience. I mean, I wouldn't do it again. But I actually saw Toby. I went and saw the next season with Supernova, and I saw Toby perform a couple of times. It was great.
Yeah, and so different for him because he was in the band, and then as a contestant, it was like that was my link to getting to America. Never been, and I just got thrown into, you know, a TV camera, and that was, to me, it was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had because I was just like, you know, on cloud nine the whole time, and we got to write songs. My band kind of got 2 record deals consistently after being on that show. It wasn't scripted. There was a lot of shit that went down, really fun stuff that never really got shown on cameras, of course, but. And then, you know, Lucas was the right fit for that band. But, you know, what I found with Supernova is they weren't really a band. They weren't like an INXS. They were a new group who really weren't gelling together, and we could see that. And a lot of us as musicians on the show, we kind of saw that, and some of us didn't really want to win. So, yeah.
And then, of course, as soon as they went on tour, Jason didn't join them. Let me just get to Jimmy because I can see Jimmy sitting back there. He's in awe of you two. He's in awe of you two great talents. He's not able to talk. He's so excited. No, I'm kidding. Oh my God, it's the guy from INXS. Oh my God, no. But Jimmy, talk to me about getting together with the band and what is sort of your contribution to these 2 singles, to the writing process, and how do you sort of see it moving forward?
Well, like we said, Gary was a friend first, which is really great because you don't meet that many really tight friends as adults, you know.
That's true.
So when you hang on to them, and Toby's become a dear friend because we've all been through so much together. And then the music thing, as far as Dust Bowl and Mosquito goes, and it's pretty much the philosophy of the whole record. The germs of the music was here, and, you know, I'd come in, and we'd work, and we'd come up more of the vibe. And see you guys in a week or so. They'd work on some more vocals, and then I'd just come in and refine my parts as well. They were built organically, but yet in the modern way, all playing you know, going over the parts and making sure and chords matched. Yeah, you know, it's just, we used all of our influences. INXS also being an equal influence for me and Toby because, you know, I grew up in the 80s playing INXS music, and a lot of it. So they were a huge influence on me at the time, as well as U2 and Elvis Costello, on and on. But the making of the record has all of the eras of rock and roll, all of our favorite people, but yet it's come to be us. It's a unique record, I find. It's really melodic and a lot of harmony and melody.
It is, and listen. I'm gonna keep telling people, go check out Dust Bowl and Mosquito. They're both great songs.
You haven't heard the rest of it yet.
I have not, and we're gonna have to correct that.
I think that's gonna. We haven't led with our strongest, I don't think, per se. So
no, you see, you never should. You should always tease, and then you got to hit him by the third single with the great.
We've all been single before. We agree.
Right. I want to ask you this. A couple of years ago, my daughter, who's a teenager, brought me out to a show by an artist called Dua Lipa, and it was in Montreal. It was about 50,000 people there, and it was a eye-opening experience. She is terrific. She's not not my cup of tea, but she's terrific. But of course, her song "Break My Heart" samples "Need You Tonight." How did you first hear about that, or did I just tell you about it?
Actually, the first person that told me about it was Jimmy. He said, "Have you heard this song? It sounds just like Need You Tonight." And then I saw the video. I love the song.
Well, it's got your bass line.
Andrew's little picky guitar in the background. It's great, but it's fun. The full circles. I didn't realize. I didn't know. And then obviously, they obviously try to get away with something, but it's the most sampled INXS song ever. So it's a great result. I mean, I've heard some much worse ones. A lot of hip hop ones really pushing it.
I also find it that it's a testament to the music, because you look at an artist who just puts this out in 2020, and it says, "I'm a current relevant artist, and I am sampling this," meaning that this is still a current relevant sound and song. And for a song that came out, 1984, 85? That's a good compliment.
Yeah. And also it's interesting the way she's done it, or whoever the writers are, because the vocal melody is around the bass line and the guitar line. Like it's kind of cool. It's not just like they're not sampling or copying Michael's melody, but they're copying the actual music. So it's actually it's a pretty good version. I like it.
I like the fact that when we started writing with Garry, he goes, "Oh, here's some of the music that we had on the INXS records that didn't go through to production," and I'm like, "Thank you very much." And so we used a couple of those the Garry's songs that he had written, I guess hadn't fleshed fully out, and Garry goes, "Give it a shot," and then Jimmy and I would jump on it, and then it turns into what you're going to hear with the new releases coming up in the next few months. But it has that kind of that hooky bass line that Garry's renowned for around the world, and that's where I think that we have our band is really strong, is our rhythm section, and then we just allow Jimmy to soar on top of it, and then I can just be in my own realm as well, which is great.
Yeah, and I have to say, much like John Taylor and Duran Duran, when you have a frontman like Michael Hutchence and you have all these great songs, people sometimes forget the band, but everybody in INXS and everybody in Duran Duran, for example, are just monster players. I mean, just absolutely monster players. Let me ask you a couple of INXS questions, and then I'll get right back to AshenMoon. What was it here? 1988, September 17th, you play the Calling All Nations tour at Texas Stadium, and the lineup includes Guns N' Roses. Explain. That's a bit of a strange combination, though. Two of the biggest bands at the time, right?
Well, when the lineup was put together, it was well in advance. So Guns N' Roses hadn't exploded by that time. So by the time they came around to playing the gig, they were had the #1 album and single in the country, and they were trying everything they could to pull out of the gig and not support INXS because they're on before. We kept saying no, you're going to stick to the deal, and so it was Ziggy Marley. It was a really good lineup and a great stadium. I mean, with the open ceiling, it was. Axl had a bit of a dummy spit over the fact that he had to go on before Michael Hutchins, but he got over it, and we ended up partying with the guys all night anyway, so it was a great time.
Yeah, it ended up being a great time. And Toby just mentioned that you had these extra songs that thank you very much. I'm going to take and repurpose them. But is there at some point a way to move the INXS catalog forward with releases of demos, box sets, live stuff? There's still a brand to curate there. Just because you're not playing live doesn't mean that it doesn't exist as a corporate entity. What's going to happen with some of that stuff?
It's all we own our own masters, so it's all sitting around. Andrew is the holy keeper of the masters. He's the one that's kept them up to the right format and safe and secure. So yeah, we've got plenty of stuff to put out, but it's just, I guess, with the whole thing with losing Michael, etc. And I know for me, I'm always about the music. And INXS music is timeless. But I'm really happy to move on with my new project because it's more personal to me because I'm way more involved than being in a 6-piece band. Right. Because we produced this together and we didn't have Chris Thomas sitting there, so it's much more emotional for me to have this project released. But the INXS stuff, so the music's always there, and I'm sure there's outtakes. We were pretty frugal with our extra takes. We kind of like to get it right the first time. So, yeah.
Yeah, you did. Toby, let me just ask you this. You, of course, have done Rocktopia. You've done solo stuff. You've done band stuff. Is this AshenMoon the project that you're moving forward with? Or do you see yourself as still saying, hey, wait, I got to take 6 months to go do a solo album. I got to go do the whatever. I got to go back to Rocktopia. How do you sort of see yourself? Is that the question basically? Are you all fully invested, or is
that's a great question. Yeah, I think the proof is in the commitment that I have shown, and what I've also discovered in my previous bands and experiences is that I actually didn't allow myself to have those times to do certain things like be on a theatre production. I thought that if you were with a band, that's the only thing you did, and you couldn't even breathe without letting them know. As long as everyone's on the same page, everyone can do it. We would love Garry to go to Australia and do some press with INXS. That helps us, Me being on Broadway, that's going to help us, Jimmy soloing on an Elvis Costello record, that's going to help us. Everything that we do, as long as we're on schedule, is going to help this band. Now, I'm thinking about AshenMoon, that's all I'm really focusing on, because the record is literally the most personal lyric that I've put out in a very, very long time. My solo stuff, I've got a lot of solo material, but that's always going to be just solo stuff. This is my band, and that's exciting.
Okay, so let me ask you about that, because you did say you have solo stuff. In terms of how do you sort of take these songs that you've written, put them in the pile over here, and how do you get a song into the AshenMoon pile, and how does this go into the solo pile? Is it lyric content? Yeah.
Yeah, for me, the solo stuff. I have a whole different team that I worked with, and we're looking for syncing. I've got 3 songs that have been in TV show, movies, and things like that. So, as far as releasing it, I'm not like going, "Here I am, guys. Here's my whole thing." It's just more about syncing, creating material for a specific reason. For any commercials, you name it, and then eventually I can always put it out. But it doesn't mean I have to go on tour with it. It just means that it's music that people might want to hear, And
also, just to tease you some more about the full record, when you hear the full record, it's like the first time I heard Zeppelin 3 or Zeppelin 2, it's a journey. It's an album made like an old-fashioned record full of great songs and takes you on a trip. And that's what we're into right now. That's what we want to do is continue this journey together as writers and singers. And Toby's right. His lyrics on this record are just brilliant, and that's what I've been looking for a long time, is someone to put words to the music that I hear in my head. So it's been a perfect union.
Yeah. And I know you're going to do this Instagram Live thing, so we've got to wrap this up in a couple of minutes. But Garry, in terms of Andrew's doing the solo Andrew Ferris album and stuff, why did you say I want to be into a band and have these different parts working together? Why not just say, hey, I got the Garry Beers project, and you're going to do what I tell you, and you're going to play the drum beat I tell you, and you're just going to shush and do what I say. Why did you want to put yourself in a band and not be the Garry Beers solo guy?
Because true musicians in bands feed off each other. I mean, Zeppelin wouldn't be Zeppelin without John Bonham like doing those grooves. It's like the Beatles before, very talented people. I mean, I like working with people. And I took the reins a lot on this record, and it was recorded here, and I did a lot of the actual recording, the actual engineering. But in all, I'd rather not do that. I'd rather all of us sat in a studio and put in our equal parts, and we can't wait to make another record, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already talking about writing.
And don't get us wrong as well. Like we love the fact that Gary's legacy with INXS is so important. So when we promote things like the shows that are getting cancelled, I think AshenMoon featuring Garry Beers of INXS. Like I think he deserves that acknowledgement, and it's a great union for us to have that kind of we are compatible with INXS. Like there's no two ways about it. Our sound is compatible, and we're not shy about it. It just happens.
I played on an INXS record.
You did,
yeah.
You played
Wait,
the last release.
which one? You played on, what was it, Switch? Was that what it's called? What was the last one called? Yeah, Switch.
Song Kick with Nika Costa.
There was a cover record they put out with INXS.
Oh, Original Sin.
The Original Sin, yeah, that's one. Yeah, hell it was. The Original Sin, and Jimmy played it on
Kick.
the Kick. Yeah, the song Kick.
Yeah, that's a great record with John Mayer and stuff.
It was, it was just handled very badly by the record label, but that's that
seems to be
well.
That's the way it goes. But that said, Golden Robot's going to take care of you because they know what they're doing.
Exactly. And we're really happy with these guys so far. I mean, it's been great. It's a great union. I feel.
Yeah, and I'll finish on this because I like the Golden Robot guys. They started off by signing some of the older acts. You know, the guys from Guns N' Roses, Dizzy Reed. They signed L.A. Guns. They signed John Sykes. That didn't work out. But they've now sort of switched it over where they're getting newer bands, and even though you've been in the business for many years, you are still a new band, and it's nice that they're going to deliver new music, which is a refreshing approach because the whole heritage acts thing is nice, but at some point you want a new voice,
we've had talks with many distribution labels and record labels, and the only one that told us with the black and white transparent conversation was Golden Robot, and basically allows us to not have to worry about marketing and PR, which is this painstaking job as a new band, and focus on being creative. And also they're allowing us creative control, which is amazing too. And that's something that if we don't want to be ever kind of pushed into some sort of box, we want to still be free. We're too old and we've been around too long in the industry to have someone trying to box us into some sort of category. So we're creating what we want for ourselves.
Yeah, and that's great. And I'll finish on this. Who produced this record?
Me with these guys, with Toby and Jimmy. I mean, and also Jimmy's best friend from school. He used to play in a band with back in Massachusetts. He's a 7 times Grammy award-winning mixing engineer.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's mixed the record for us, and we have to give him a bit of credit for the production too.
Mr. Dave Reitzes.
Yeah, Dave Reitzes. So we
I see.
The reins.
Gary produced the record. He basically sat here in the computer. We just came over and drank his tequila and
pissed my wall.
Yeah. No, but basically, and for me, it was the first time that I got to kind of produce my own vocals without, because Gary was very into, and even Jimmy, they were very into just me expressing myself. And if there was something that was a little off, they'd say something, but generally just allowing me to produce myself, which was great. And then allowed me to kind of, when I'd write a melody for Jimmy, I can't play like Jimmy, and Jimmy was, there's no ego involved. Jimmy would go, "You mean like this, T?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like that, you fucking." But it was really a real great experience where we just kind of all supported each other and produced each other with no ego.
Well, see, and it turned out great. Again, I will say Dust Bowl is definitely a massive single. Mosquito is a great song. It's nice to hear new music from the guys, from Gary, from you. AshenMoon, folks, there you go. When does the record actually come out?
We with the first, so this is the first 2 songs. We have another single coming out with the EP, which will be in about a month's time.
Okay.
And then we do another EP. So we'll have 10 tracks out by the time October comes around.
Good.
And then we look to do the full length with a vinyl release and an extra 4 songs around probably late January, February. So by then you'll have, and then we're doing an acoustic EP right now, which we have covered some INXS songs on, which you're going to love.
Good.
We're actually going to work on that this evening, and then some acoustic versions of some of the tracks off the record. So we're going to have about 4 different products coming out in the next 8 months.
Good. Yeah. And I have to say, given the situation we're in, you might as well accumulate the material so that when you go play shows, you can actually do a set of 15 AshenMoon songs rather than 3 AshenMoon songs and a whole bunch of covers.
Exactly, brother.
Well, exactly, yeah. And we're really enjoying the fact, I mean, we had our shows cancelled, so we're really enjoying doing it. Jimmy would put down these amazing acoustic versions of AshenMoon tracks and a couple of INXS tracks, and then we just build it in here in my studio and send it back and forth. And we're really enjoying that at the moment.
Yeah, and what you have to do is do an acoustic cover of the Dua Lipa song and say, see, now we're coming here. Right back at you. Right back at you,
I didn't know it was your song, Dua. Yeah, that's it.
It's my song. I'm pretty sure it's my song. Anyway, thank you, gentlemen. This has been a great, great pleasure, as we say in Montreal. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup as well. Thank you, Mitch. Appreciate you,
Thanks,
mate.
Mitch.
Absolutely. Bonsoir. Cheers. Bye-bye now.
All right, brother.
That's great. Perfect.